Commissioner Whittington said that he would recommend that if something weren't worked out by Tuesday, that he would ask the board to meet and to, in effect, just dissolve. Would you recommend this if something can't be worked out, rather than them going on unfunded?
No, I would not. I don't think that'll serve any purpose except to break up the program and make it necessary to start it again, because it will be started again, either through the offices of the state government or the federal government. And I think I'd much rather have a program that has some weaknesses in it, that is run at the local level, where you can see what's wrong and do things to correct it, than I would have it run by remote control from a place far away.
The only thing, and it was so simple, that the city and county withdraw the sponsorship of this particular agency and give a 10-day notice. And at that time have a non-profit corporation set up, a new agency selected.
Essentially, in the past, what we've done is we funded all kinds of programs in the area of prevention. And during the past 10 years, we even have introduced some brand new concepts and brand new programs in prevention youth development across the country. The problem is that we've never been able to coordinate these efforts or pull them together to where one community can profit from the experiences of another, or to begin to add in terms of new techniques and new programs into various communities. And I think the different approach that we're taking at the present time will probably have some significant results. And that is, we're looking toward state planning agencies in the area of delinquency prevention to begin planning in depth some viable programs for prevention. We're asking them to look at their communities, for example, in respect to data collection first, to find out where the problem exists, to find out what neighborhoods in cities have the largest input into the juvenile justice system. And in so doing, then we know where to begin to focus our planning in order to have a reduction in delinquency.
By the Washington office.
I'm trying to arrange for a meeting of the committee that was set up at the judge's request for tomorrow, preferably in the morning. I don't know whether we can reach all the commissioners on the committee or all the council people, but probably sometime before the day is over tomorrow we should have been able to get them together. If that's true, I would hope that they'd use their very best efforts to resolve this problem, because we have a war on poverty that has had its problems and its troubles, but for the first time since it was installed here several years ago, it begins to look like a good, workable program. I'd hate to see this progress stop and have us back up and have to start over at some later date.
What is your reaction to the judge's insinuations or statements that they've been stalling in the restructuring?
There's been no stalling on my part or the council's, as far as I know, or in any other way. There are certain things in the old bylaws of the War on Poverty Board that really work out that a lawyer of some kind has to draw a draft of new bylaws. That has to go to the executive committee and be approved. Then 10 days notice from that time has to be given before the bylaws can be formally changed by the board. That's in process. The executive committee should have this draft and have it approved by Monday sometime. If this is so, we give 10 days notice. At the end of that time, the War on Poverty should have a new set of bylaws and a new structure. At the present time, it's my understanding from Dean Galvin that the program will run out of money on Monday unless the governor releases these funds. Since this is the case, we're going to make every effort between now and then to solve the problem and get the paychecks to the people who have already earned most of them.
It'll be planned recreation. Behind each of the cul-de-sacs will be planned playgrounds. The playground areas will be away from the street. The lots will be relatively small, but the green space that back up the lots will be large. Hopefully it will be kept by a cooperative so that lawns will be kept in proper order, this sort of thing.
Well, I think that militant group in the church has always been a minority, although I would say that today there are many more priests who have committed themselves in a militant fashion than there were, say, 6 or 7 years ago. When I was first arrested back in 64 or 65, that was an unusual thing for a priest to go to jail, an act of civil disobedience to protest an injustice in the community. But I think the numbers are going to grow, and I think they're going to continue to grow as long as our government burns up more money killing people in Vietnam than it spends in the entire anti-poverty program. We burn up more money there in the entire anti-poverty program.
Susie, since you have the interest or whatever it takes to get into this thing, can you explain about what's going on and what's happened so far?
Yeah, it's remarkable. We are now at checkpoint 14, 14 miles. This is checkpoint number 5. I am exiting here. I really can't go on anymore, and I'm rather ashamed because of all of there are about 3,000 kids that have been marching all day. It's raining, it's pouring. They're going on. They're going all the way, most of them determined to go to 30 miles, and they do it to feed hungry people. They, of course, have received pledges for every mile that they walk. They'll receive money, and it's kind of super. There's some pretty fun things that have happened. The interesting thing is that all along the way where they're eating donuts or drinking soda pop, things that have been donated, they take care of their own trash, and their little bins and boxes all along the road, and the kids kind of look out and keep everything clean. Listen, it'd do everybody a lot of good to spend a day with people like this. It's kind of super.
You mentioned a while ago that there are very few Playboys left. Are you in danger of running out of material?
If I had to depend on Playboys for my material, I would have run out of it a long time ago. I would have died with the Playboys.
How would you explain your sources of material, best of all?
I would just say everyone you can possibly think of, from friends, from people you could never believe. You'll walk around a corner and someone will tell you something. You can count on your friends. You can count on a very few people who are public relations, who are, I should say, strong in their line, strong in their game. And everyone is a source for me.
Some of the things that have been achieved has been the building of the community mental health centers, grant and aid programs, the consolidation of a unified building system so that we've cut out our architectural fees on each independent building. This kind of thing has made it more economical to run the system, but it has required more spending in the central office than in some of the institutions to get some of the things started.
If this has caused the controversy, what is this effect going to be on local Dallas operations and within the employees in the state mental health department?
I feel like many of these things that have been started are now at a critical point. If they are abandoned without completion, then the money that has gone into them will be lost, and nothing will have been gained. We'll be back in a very difficult situation. The clinic here is dependent upon the central office obtaining the budget for it. We have to have a unified program to go before the legislators for them to give us a budget. This budget, I feel, is in jeopardy with the controversy that's going on and with the questioning that's going on. Also, without a commissioner that is strong enough to continue the program, we're in no position for budgeting.
I'm deeply concerned about the people in Roosevelt Heights. I have been ever since I've been a councilman. I've requested repeatedly that the council members do something to solve the problem concerning the sewers. We work to get waters, we work to pave the streets, we work to get street lights, we work to get a city park, many other things, and those things have been accomplished since I've been on the council. but I've spent more time on this one single project concerning the construction of levees for the Roosevelt Heights area than any other thing I've done since I've been a member of the City Council.
I really don't know how to express how I feel. I'm sad that he doesn't know anything about our child. And I'm angry because I think that the families are being used by the North Vietnamese as well as the men. And I think people expect me to be happy, and I am happy to have heard from him, but I'm not happy to know that he hasn't received any of my letters, nor has received any of the packages, that he's not well. His handwriting looks very weak, and I'm so worried. It's just kind of hard to explain the worry that I'm experiencing right now.
Lawfield has come a long way from a cornfield airstrip in the 1920s, and the Dallas downtown skyline has kept pace with that change. But while the Dallas civic leaders view the ever-rising skyline of their city with increasing pride, the pilots who fly in and out of Love Field take a different view. They look on the skyline as something of a man-made mountain of concrete and steel being constructed at the end of their runway. Today, 4 of those pilots met with the local press to express their apprehensions. One of those pilots was Captain W.T. Bill Alford.
Captain Alford, I understand that you are not particularly concerned as a pilot with perhaps running into one of these buildings, but I understand there are other hazards created by them. What are some of these?
Yes, if you'll think of these buildings as a coral reef in the harbor, entry of a harbor, of an ocean-going harbor, every ship has to circumnavigate or go around an obstruction. We have the same situation with the tall buildings. The controllers will have an extra workload. They will have to radar vector us around the buildings. We will have to have procedures to go around these obstructions at all times. It will definitely be a hazard to air navigation.
3 proposed new high-rise structures in the downtown Dallas area disturb the pilots: the LTV building, Griffin Square, and the Main Place development. If those 3 buildings are built, say the pilots, instrument landings on this runway, a primary runway at Love Field, will be eliminated. And that will badly curtail the use of this airport facility. This will mean Love Field's ability to land planes during the months of December and January, for example, will be virtually cut in half. The pilots will take their plea before the Dallas City Council next Monday, but not even the most optimistic believe they will get a favorable reaction. To quote one, "We just want, for the record, to make it plain that in case anything happens, we told Dallas." This is Tommy Ayers reporting for Channel 8 News.
But we're tired. Go to our homes this morning, this afternoon, and look at the water. Where the water has run through open toilets, the sewage along the highway. And yet when we come here, the cry is, it's not our problem. Whose problem is it?
The council decided to circulate a petition in the area, a legal petition, to see if the people had enough interest to install sanitary sewers at the partial cost of the city and partial cost to the homeowners, as is done in all other areas of the city.
was very emotional. I was very upset by his writing. I can't say I'm happy. I'm happy he's alive, but I'm not happy that his writing looks the way it does, and that he hasn't ever been allowed to receive a letter to know that we're all right and that we're here waiting for him and that we love him. And so I was very upset. I had waited a long time for the letter. I had been notified 5 weeks ago that it was coming, and the letter was written December 24th, 1969, so it took me 4 months to get it.
Well, when I first heard the contents of the letter, I realized that my husband had no knowledge of Rick, our little boy, at all. He mentioned in the letter the child, but it was obvious that he doesn't know whether it's a boy or a girl or anything about him. And it's really saddened me a great deal. Rick celebrated his 4th birthday last week, and I've written a letter to Jerry every month for the last 4.5 years telling him about Rick.